Steve would ask him as he came by, is the problem in the center of the corner? The next time by, if it was, Jeff would put his hand up on the A post or the top of the door. If it wasn't, he'd come by again and Steve would ask him another question. They already had a game plan formulated, but the good news, they put the backup helmet in and they can hear Jeff. Jeff can hear them.
This week, Bill Parker of Orlando, Florida asks our FedEx Racetracks question, what will be the biggest challenge of running the car of tomorrow here?
Challenge at Phoenix is always turning in the middle. As you heard Jeff and Darrell talking their ride and drive, getting the car to turn is a challenge. The car tomorrow, getting it to turn is a challenge. That doubles the challenge for these teams.
Send your questions about each track we visit. Maybe you'll be our FedEx letter of the week.
Hey, Jeff Burton, it's DW in the Fox Sports booth. But you got a copy? Yo, Jeff Burton, DW here. You got a copy? Sounds like we're...
We'll go with 4.9, but that's not a real good reading. But that kind of adding up with what we see here. We're going to go with 4. We're going to watch it.
Trying to get his pit road speed figured out.
Jeff Burton, DW in the Fox Sports booth. You got a copy, bud?
DW, how you doing, bud?
Jeff, you had a great run at Bristol in this car tomorrow. Is this the same car, and what do you anticipate? What's your biggest concerns about tonight?
Biggest concern is all the things that we don't know about. There's a tremendous amount of things that with the car tomorrow that are unknown, and that's our biggest concern. So we'll see what we got. Singular Chevrolet, I think it's pretty decent. We'll just see what we can make happen.
All right, buddy. Good luck. Have a great night.
Now let's look at our keys to the race here. Get the car to turn in the middle. That's the challenge on these flat corners. But once you get it to turn, you got to get it off the corner. That's where you pass people, is on the exit. Short race here tonight. 312 miles. You got to keep that track position late in the race.
The nighttime is the right time. As long as you're okay under the setting sun, that's fine. But you need to be right when this track goes dark.
DW, a lot of unknowns, a lot of speed getting in the corner. Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
The duel in the desert. Jeff Gordon, Jamie McMurray share the front row. They face the setting sun as they come to the front straightaway for 500 kilometers.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing in the desert, boys.
We got them 3 wide going down into turn 1, and of course it rained here last night. Track's got to be a little dirty and slippery right now.
Jeff Gordon gets those 5 points for leading a lap. Denny Hamlin goes by Jamie McMurray to take second spot away.
But most importantly, a clean first lap.
Yeah, I was really concerned about that because this front straightaway is real narrow. If anybody checks up in front of you, it almost always causes a wreck.
Gordon out front, 4-car single file. Jimmy Johnson heads a pack of traffic for 5th place. Look at that knot led by the 48 car. Gordon Truex trying to move, so is Harvick. And Scott Riggs in the 10 backing up just a bit.
Yeah, Scott in the 10's hung up on the outside, and he's losing quite a few positions. He might be able to get down there in front of Harvick. Looks pretty good for him.
A lot of sparks from underneath Jimmy Johnson's car.
And I think right now the track has some pretty good grip because it's very cool. It's starting to get some shade, low air pressure to start this race. That's probably what's going on. But it looks like he's going to lose a position to Martin Truex Jr. in that 1 car.
Well, when we look at the 48 car, look at that nose. It is on the ground. That's where those sparks are coming from. That car is right against the racetrack.
And when it really starts to spark is when he rolls out of the throttle and jumps on the brake pedal to get in these corners. The nose dives down.
And a big concern they have with this car tomorrow is that splitter. And when that thing starts dragging on the racetrack, you wear it out, you lose the splitter. There goes your front downforce, what little you got.
7th place. Harvick continuing to work on Scott Riggs, whose tires are now coming up to temperature and pressure, and Riggs is coming back forward again.
I think as we look into the windshield of these cars coming off turn 4, you can see just how hard these cars are to drive. The guys really have to fight the wheel with this race car. You see the cars kind of bobble around, and this car just handles so differently than what the guys are accustomed to. Let's see what we got coming off turn 4 here, Larry. Let's look down in old Harvick's car. He's down on the apron a little bit. See that hand kind of juking around? That was pretty smooth compared to last time by.
What I see that surprises me, Darrell, is a clear face shield for Kevin Harvick. Not the dark tinted shield that many of the drivers have.
But I think it's like Jeff Hammond pointed out in the pre-race show. The sun has already dipped down behind the grandstand. He's preparing for when we turn nighttime later on in this race.
Remember that word I told you last week? Anticipation. Have to anticipate.
Let's get some late stories from pit road, beginning with Matt Yoakum on our pole sitter.
Jeff Gordon out front. He has a tinted shield, much like his teammate Jimmy Johnson, the 48. Gordon has really acclimated himself to this whole car of tomorrow. The feel that he needs. Had 2 top 3 finishes, a 3rd at Bristol, a 2nd at Martinsville. A win here would be huge because he's never won here in a Nextel Cup car. Right now, Gordon out front, just pacing himself. Dick Berggren?
Well, Jamie McMurray said he doesn't care whether he's driving a car tomorrow or the car of yesterday. He woke up this morning with an upset stomach. He is so focused on getting through today without messing up. He started on the outside of the front row, Steve.
Well, Dick, Denny Hamlin started 3rd, which is key because track importing is so vital here. Hamlin has only led 2 races this year, but they were both car of tomorrow races. He led for a total of 309 laps at Martinsville and Bristol. Also, his crew chief Mike Ford said he is great on flat, fast racetracks. He won both races at Pocono a year ago. Krista.
Well, Clint Boyer has someone riding along with him. His name is Swagger. This was the site of his very first Nextel Cup Top 5. He won last night's Busch race, and in the new car, his finishes this year, 8th and 11th at Bristol and Martinsville. The COT, Mike, is A-OK for Clint Boyer.
3rd place is the race as we have a look at Boyer on the inside of Scott Riggs. Gordon the leader, Hamlin 2nd. They're side by side for 3rd, Kurt Busch and Jamie McMurray.
And why Boyer is able to fight past his 10 car is his car went through the middle of the corner, and he's able to try to complete the pass on the exit of the corner down the straightaway.
And we've seen Riggs kind of hung up on the outside, which tells me his car is just pushing up the hill. He can't get to the bottom because he's had a couple of opportunities. Of course, Boyer won the race here last night, and that car looks pretty good right now as well. Not the same car, but Boyer's got a win under his belt already this weekend.
Casey Kane way up high. Dave Blaney thought he had an opening there. Didn't materialize. There you see Kurt Busch. He's found his way past McMurray. Now Jimmy Johnson goes to work on Jamie Mack for 4th.
And based on what we saw in practice, Larry and Mike, you know this, that 48 car looked like he was going to be the class of the field. He's mowing them down as he gets to them moving forward.
Yeah, I talked to his crew chief this morning, Chad Canals, and he said, you know what, Larry, we are happy with our race car. What you're seeing is what we're feeling.
And then you see the sparks are getting less and less and less as our air pressure builds up. The nose lifts up just a tad. She stops dragging the ground, and then she starts hunting like a big old coon dog.
Nose down, tail up.
Woo! And coming to the front. Jeff Gordon has led every one of 13 laps so far. Denny Hamlin is beginning to close the gap on the race leader. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Jared. The Subway Fresh Fit 500 on Fox is sponsored by Ford. Bold moves, they happen every day. By State Farm. Great service, great rates. Nobody takes care of you like State Farm. By Nextel, only from Sprint, helping NASCAR Nextel Cup fans get more done. And by Subway Restaurants. Subway, eat fresh.
21 laps complete in Phoenix. Jeff Gordon has led them all, but Denny Hamlin closed up to within about 8 car lengths of Gordon, and then his march to the front just kind of ran out of gas.
That's, you know, Jeff Gordon saw him coming. I believe Jeff picked it up a notch. Lap time say so. He was running 29.10. Now he's 29.9. He's picked up a couple of tenths, put a little gap between he and Hamlin.
What about Denny Hamlin, Steve?
Mike, he's actually a little frustrated right now. He just told his team and spotter Curtis Markham, he said, I can't do anything with this car right now. He said, I'm tight in 3 and 4 when I pick up the throttle, the gas pedal.
And this car, what drivers are going to have to come to grips with, it's not how good your car is, it's how good your car is compared to everybody else. Nobody is going to be happy with this car.
And that's where the crew chief and the spotter has to be a little bit of a salesman to give him information how he stacks up versus the competition.
I mean, you're running second. You chase Jeff Gordon down almost. You're sitting there in pretty good shape. Don't tell me how much you don't like the car. Tell me what we can do to help the car.
Hey, Darrell, Larry, you're exactly right. After Denny finished talking about the race car, his spotter said, hang with it, 10-4. By the way, third place, you're clear by 20.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what you got to remember.
Yeah, you're 20 car lengths ahead of third place, and he has the advantage of Curtis Markham being a former driver and a good one in the NASCAR Busch Series. So Curtis knows what that driver needs to hear.
I love, a former driver makes a great spotter.
There's the gap to third place, Kurt Busch, and fourth place, Jimmy Johnson. Martin Truex in fifth, Kevin Harvick sixth. McMurray, Stewart, Mears, and Kenseth, the top 10. There's the fight for ninth.
This is the car I've been watching, especially on the scoring moniker. Matt Kenseth in that 17 car. He started back in 17th, and he's been working his way toward the top 10. And I'm sure their goal in this first run, if we stay green, which will be about 70